Sophia Carter stood in front of her bedroom mirror, adjusting the deep red silk dress that clung perfectly to her curves. Her heart fluttered with excitement as she thought about her boyfriend, Ryan Evans, the charming, successful entrepreneur who had swept her off her feet a year ago. This was their first Valentine's Day together, and he had gone all out. Reservations at a 5-star restaurant, a private rooftop dinner, and the promise of a surprise that would change their lives forever. She had been in love before, but something about Ryan felt different. He was attentive, thoughtful, and always knew the right things to say. After a string of bad relationships, she had finally found someone who made her feel safe, or so she thought. As she grabbed her purse and headed out the door, her best friend, Olivia, called. "You sure about this guy, Soph?" Olivia asked, her voice laced with concern. Sophia laughed. "Will you worry too much? Ryan is amazing. He planned this whole evening just for me. I just don't trust men who are too perfect," Olivia muttered. Sophia rolled her eyes, ignoring her friend's skepticism. Tonight was about love and romance. Nothing would ruin it. When she arrived at the restaurant, Ryan was already waiting for her at a private candlelit table. He looked impeccable in his tailored navy blue suit, his dark hair perfectly styled. He stood, kissed her hand, and pulled out her chair. "You look breathtaking," he said, his green eyes gleaming. Sophia blushed as the waiter poured them wine. The atmosphere was intoxicating. Soft jazz playing in the background, the scent of roses in the air. Halfway through their meal, Ryan pulled out a small velvet box. Sophia's breath caught. Was this happening? A proposal? But instead of a ring, inside lay a delicate gold bracelet with a single sapphire. "To celebrate us," Ryan said, fastening it around her wrist. She smiled, though a small pang of disappointment settled in her stomach. She had hoped for a ring, but maybe that was coming later. "To us," she said, raising her glass. They clinked glasses and she took a sip of the wine. A warm sensation spread through her body, her limbs suddenly feeling heavy, her vision blurred at the edges. Ryan leaned in, his voice soft. "Just relax, baby. Everything's gonna be fine." Panic surged through Sophia, but before she could speak, darkness swallowed her whole. Sophia's head pounded as she drifted into consciousness. The air smelled sterile, disinfectant mixed with something metallic. A soft beeping noise echoed in the distance. Her body felt sluggish, her limbs heavy, as if she were swimming through thick molasses. She tried to move, but her wrists were restrained. Panic flared, her eyes fluttered open, and the harsh fluorescent lights above burned into her vision. She was lying in a bed, her arms strapped down. The walls were stark white, the floor a dull gray. A hospital? No, this wasn't a hospital. Then she saw the sign on the wall. Westwood Rehabilitation Center. Her breath hitched. Rehab? Why was she in rehab? The door creaked open and a middle-aged woman in scrubs entered, clipboard in hand. "Good morning, Sophia. I'm Dr. Benson. How are you feeling?" Sophia tried to speak, but her throat was dry. "Where am I?" she croaked. Dr. Benson gave her a practiced smile. "You're safe here. You were brought in last night after an incident at the Fairmont Hotel. Your boyfriend checked you in, concerned about your well-being." "Ryan?" Sophia's mind reeled. "No, this is a mistake. I don't have a drug problem." Dr. Benson's expression remained neutral. "You were found in an altered state, showing signs of overdose. According to Mr. Evans, he's been worried about your substance abuse for months. He said you refused help, so he took action." Sophia's stomach twisted. "That's a lie." Dr. Benson sighed. "Denial is common in cases like this. But you're in a safe place now. We'll help you through this." Sophia's pulse pounded in her ears. This was a setup. A trap. But why? And how the hell was she going to get out? Sophia's mind spun in panic. This couldn't be real. Ryan wouldn't do this to her, would he? Her memories of the previous night were hazy, but she clearly remembered drinking the wine. Had he drugged her? The thought sent a chill through her spine. She tugged at the restraints on her wrists. "You have to believe me, Dr. Benson? I don't do drugs. Ryan, he must have done something to me." Dr. Benson remained calm, flipping through the clipboard. "Your blood test results show traces of benzodiazepines and opiates, Sophia. It's understandable that you're scared, but we're here to help you." "Benzodiazepines?" Sophia's stomach churned. She never took anything stronger than aspirin. "I need to call someone," she demanded. "My best friend, Olivia. She'll tell you I don't use drugs." Dr. Benson shook her head. "You're under a 72-hour involuntary hold. No outside contact is allowed until we determine you're stable." Sophia's heart sank. "This is insane. You're holding me against my will." Dr. Benson sighed. "We see this a lot. Patients in denial, refusing to admit their problem. But once you accept the truth, healing can begin." Sophia gritted her teeth. This wasn't about healing. This was a setup. But why? What did Ryan gain from this? As Dr. Benson left, a nurse entered and unfastened her restraints. "You'll be moved to the common area soon," the nurse said, avoiding eye contact. Sophia rubbed her wrists, anger boiling beneath her fear. She wasn't an addict. She had to find a way out before they forced her into becoming one, and she needed to find out why Ryan did this to her. Hours later, Sophia was escorted into the common area. The room was sterile and colorless, filled with patients lounging on sofas, some staring blankly at the walls, others muttering to themselves. She needed to think, needed a plan. Just then, a voice whispered near her ear. "Didn't think I'd see you here, princess." Sophia turned sharply, her breath catching. Sitting in the corner was Jason Carter, her estranged older brother. Jason had been the black sheep of the family, in and out of rehab for years. Their parents had cut him off after his last arrest for drug possession. She hadn't seen him in almost 3 years. "Jason?" she whispered in disbelief. "Didn't think you were into the hard stuff," he smirked, but his eyes held concern. "Or are you in here for another reason?" Sophia sat beside him, lowering her voice. "I'm not supposed to be here. Ryan set me up." Jason's smirk disappeared. "Ryan Evans?" Sophia nodded. Jason exhaled sharply. "Damn it, Soph, you got involved with the wrong guy." Her heart pounded. "What do you mean?" Jason glanced around before leaning in. "Ryan's got a reputation. I know people who've done business with him. Shady business. The kind that lands people in places like this." Sophia's hands clenched into fists. She thought Ryan was perfect, but now the puzzle pieces were coming together. "What does he want from me?" she asked, voice tight with fear. Jason hesitated before saying, "If Ryan put you here, it's because he's about to take something from you, and by the time you get out, it'll be too late to stop him." Sophia's blood ran cold. She wasn't just trapped, she was being erased. Sophia's stomach twisted as Jason's words sank in. "If Ryan put you here, it's because he's about to take something from you." Her mind raced. What could Ryan possibly want from her? "My apartment," she whispered. "My bank accounts." Jason frowned. "That's small time for a guy like him. You said you've been together for a year, right? Has he ever asked you to sign anything?" Sophia's breath hitched. The life insurance policy. 2 months ago, Ryan had convinced her to take out a high-value policy, claiming it was a smart investment for their future. At the time, she thought nothing of it. He even insisted on handling the paperwork, saying he'd take care of everything. "Jason," she whispered, her fingers trembling. "I think he's trying to make me disappear." Jason's jaw tightened. "Then you better find a way to get out of here. Fast." "But how?" She was locked inside a rehab center, falsely labeled an addict, and Ryan had manipulated the system against her. She needed a plan, and she needed help. That night, Sophia lay awake in her narrow bed, staring at the ceiling. She had one chance to contact the outside world. But how? Jason had managed to get his hands on a smuggled burner phone. Rehab centers had their share of corrupt staff. The problem was, he only had one call left before the phone was gone. "You better make it count," Jason warned as he slipped the phone into her hands during breakfast. Sophia hesitated for only a moment before dialing Olivia's number. After 3 rings, her best friend's voice came through. "Hello? Liv, it's me," Sophia whispered urgently. "Sophia?" Olivia sounded panicked. "Where the hell are you?" Ryan said. "Ryan's lying," Sophia cut in. "I'm in Westwood Rehab. He set me up. He drugged me, Liv. He's trying to get rid of me." There was silence on the line. Then Olivia's voice turned sharp. "I knew something was off about him." "Listen to me," Sophia continued. "Remember the life insurance policy I told you about? Check who the beneficiary is. I bet it's Ryan." A pause. Then Olivia muttered, "That son of a..." "Liv, please," Sophia pleaded. "Find proof. Get me out of here before it's too late." "I'm on it," Olivia promised. Sophia hung up, exhaling shakily. She had planted the first seed of hope. Now she just had to survive long enough for Olivia to uncover the truth. The next morning, Sophia was called into a therapy session. Dr. Benson sat across from her, smiling in that same placid way. "How are you feeling today, Sophia?" Sophia forced a weak smile. "Better. I think I'm finally seeing things clearly." Dr. Benson's eyebrows lifted. "That's good to hear. I was thinking," Sophia continued, keeping her voice soft, "maybe Ryan was right. Maybe I do need help." Dr. Benson's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "That's a breakthrough, Sophia." Sophia nodded. I'd love to talk to Ryan, to thank him for getting me help." She held her breath, waiting for the doctor's reaction. Dr. Benson studied her, then slowly nodded. "I think that can be arranged." Sophia smiled. If Ryan was coming, she'd be ready for him. And this time, he wouldn't see it coming. Sophia spent the next 24 hours carefully maintaining her act. She smiled at the nurses, participated in group therapy, and pretended to embrace her so-called recovery. It was the only way to convince Dr. Benson that she was compliant. Deep down, however, she was seething. Ryan was coming, and she needed to be prepared. When the door to Dr. Benson's office finally opened the next morning, Sophia kept her expression neutral as Ryan stepped inside. Dressed in a sleek black suit, he looked as polished as ever, his green eyes gleaming with false concern. "Sophia, baby," he said smoothly, stepping toward her. "I'm so glad you're getting the help you need." Sophia clenched her fists beneath the desk, but forced a shaky smile. Ryan, I was so angry at first, but I think you did the right thing. Dr. Benson beamed. Sophia has made real progress. She understands now that she needed an intervention. Ryan took her hands, squeezing them gently. That's all I ever wanted, baby. For you to be safe. Sophia swallowed her disgust. I just wish I could see you more. Ryan sighed dramatically. I know, but the rules here are strict. He turned to Dr. Benson. Is there any way she could be released early? Maybe into my care? Sophia held her breath, waiting for Dr. Benson's response. The doctor hesitated. She's doing well, but it's still early. We'll need more time before considering discharge. Ryan smiled, but there was something hard behind his eyes. Of course. I only want what's best for her. Sophia knew what that look meant. He was getting impatient. If Olivia didn't come through soon, she might not get another chance. Meanwhile, Olivia was digging into Ryan's past. She had managed to track down the insurance policy Sophia had mentioned, and just as Sophia suspected, Ryan was listed as the sole beneficiary. But that wasn't all. Olivia discovered 2 previous women who had been in relationships with Ryan, both of whom had mysteriously vanished under suspicious circumstances. One had been declared dead in an accidental overdose, and the other had checked into a rehab center, only to disappear without a trace. Chills ran down Olivia's spine. Ryan wasn't just a liar. He was a predator. Without wasting another second, she gathered all the evidence and drove straight to the police. Time was running out. The next evening, Sophia was called to Dr. Benson's office once more. As she stepped inside, her stomach twisted at the sight of Ryan sitting across from Dr. Benson. His expression was unreadable, but there was something cold in his eyes. Sophia, Dr. Benson began, we've decided that under Ryan's care, you may be released on a probationary basis. Sophia's blood ran cold. This was it. If she left with Ryan, she knew she wouldn't survive. Before she could protest, the door burst open. Nobody is going anywhere. Olivia stormed in, flanked by 2 police officers. Ryan's face paled. What the hell is this? One of the officers stepped forward. Ryan Evans, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and attempted murder. Sophia gasped as the officers slammed Ryan against the desk, handcuffing him. You set me up, Ryan snarled, his mask of charm completely shattered. Sophia stood tall, her fear replaced with pure rage. You did this to yourself. As Ryan was dragged away, Olivia rushed to Sophia's side, tears in her eyes. You're safe now. Sophia exhaled shakily, finally free. Justice had been served. But as she looked around the cold, sterile walls of the rehab center, she knew one thing for certain. She would never trust so easily again.
Subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification for more stories like this, and give this video a thumbs up. Click on this next interesting story.